Right, hello and welcome to this week's angling blog. Today you join us on the banks of the River Severn and we're in search of barbel. So the river's got about 1.5 to 2 foot of extra water on and has got a lovely colour to it. I don't do much barbel fishing, but it just looks good conditions to catch a barbel. It's warm and there's a bit of colour and a bit of extra water in, and yeah, it looks good for a bite. The session today, it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon now and we've just arrived on the bank, just about getting the rods set up and getting the rods in, and we're going to fish about an hour into dark. Not too long, just enough maybe just to pick up a fish, and hopefully we can get 1 or 2 on the bank. Conditions weather wise, it's quite warm, but we are moving into the middle of September now, so the sun hasn't got the heat it had like a month ago. So although it is sunny and warm, it's not the boiling hot conditions we had on the River Wye or the River Severn video that I'll link at the top of the screen now. Let's take a quick look at the setup and the baits that we're going to use today and how we're going to approach the swim. Well, my setup for the session is my Corum twin tip rod, and I've got the Corum shadow reel with 12-pound line. I've got that all the way down to a low resistance run ring, a large Corum feeder, and I'll go into why I'm using that feeder in a second. Got a quick change bead and then a bead below the swivel to protect the knot. The rig is attached by a quick change swivel, a sleeve to aid separation on the cast to prevent tangles, so when the rig sits like that, reduces the chance of it tangling, and obviously that's free running. The line is 10-pound Drennan Suplex down to a size 14 Corum microbarbed hook with a band on and a Sonia bait spicy sausage pellet. So that's the setup. I'll just quickly talk about the length of the rig and the feeder that I'm using and why. Now, on other sessions you've seen me use this feeder to bait up and then change over to the smaller Dinsmore feeder when I want a small amount of bait afterwards going in. We're on a super short session today and the river is up and coloured, so as you'll see in a minute, we're using ground bait and I want plenty of bait going in the river. It's a quick hit attack as such, plenty of bait, plenty of smell, and you're looking for an instant response, so plenty of bait going down the river. Now with the extra flow on, I've got quite a long hook link, and simply that is because the flow will push the bait out of the feeder. Now if your bait's only here and the bait's getting pushed out really quickly, your bait could be 2 foot down the river on the gravel. The barbel aren't going to move up to an empty feeder and 1 pellet. So the theory is that hits the bottom, empties, and about that distance away from the feeder is where I'm hoping the barbel will be feeding and moving up. So I'm hoping that the bait's going to come straight out the feeder, you get a grip of him and coat the bottom, and that bait's going to be that distance away based on the flow that's on the river. That's the theory. Let's have a look at the baits we're going to use to swim and put it into practice. First arrived at the river, I mixed up some marine halibut ground bait and put it through a riddle, as you can see on screen now. Once it's gone through the riddle, it's a much finer ground bait, and in there I've put some 6mm Sonia bait spicy sausage pellet, and that is just to plug the feeder. As I say, there's quite a bit there because we're going to be casting every probably 10 to 15 minutes. Cheshire particle hemp, and probably too much here for the session, but it's a small bucket and it'll go back in the freezer when I go home. Just a tip here with your hemp, if you're going to freeze it, is fill it above the line with water. That way your hemp will sink and it'll freeze. If you freeze it like it is, you'll end up with hemp that'll float. And there's the hook baits, 8mm Sonia bait spicy sausage pellets and some 6mm pellets as well. And there's the finished article, both ends plugged lightly so the ground bait comes out. As you can see, there's 1 or 2 pellets and hemp showing through, but there's quite a bit of bait in there. that's going to go into the swim, hoping that's going to track them barbel in and we'll get a quick bite. So the swim that we're in, you can see the lilo that's stuck on the inside edge. It's got plenty of options on it really. You've got this inside line down here with a nice tree, obviously to present a bait close in if you want to put some hemp in. And then obviously down the middle you've got the gully, which is what we're fishing today, and it is presenting some problems already with weed catching on the line on the way down, but just casting in line with that shadow and hoping, you know, keep casting every 10 to 15 minutes and build up that bed of feed, and hopefully we'll draw some barbel upstream or from the area. And like I say, I'm just hoping for one tonight. One barbel will be a result. You can hear there the reel's just ticking because there's a bit of weed on the line, so we'll get it in and get it recast. There we go, the first fish of the session, a pristine chub. It is a warm day, and I think we'll wait till dusk maybe for the first barbel. Like I said before, just regular casts, getting that bait out there, about 3 or 4 casts, and Mr. Chub was on it. Always nice to get a fish on the bank and the first fish of the session, so let's get it straight back and get the rod back out. So that chub's just gone back and put the rod back out, and it's absolutely ripped round again, and hopefully this is the target species. The bite was very reminiscent of a barbel, I have to say. If it's a chub, it's done a good act of a barbel bite. Enjoyed the barbel fishing, and it does feel as we move into this month that there's probably only a couple of sessions left for them, and I am going to miss it. I really am going to miss, you know, fishing for these barbel. The power that they have is something else and very addictive. It does look like a small barbel, and hopefully this time as he comes back round he'll be ours. And there we go, barbel number 1 of the session, and a result probably about 4.5 pound, maybe 5 at a push. We won't weigh him, keep him out any longer than we have to, and well worth that journey down here, you know, to give a go for them. It was a last minute decision, but well worth it. Let's get this fish straight back. And with a foot or 2 of extra water on, even more paramount, you give them a good rest. I say that barbel's had a good rest before I've blogged it, and now I'll just finish blogging and he'll stay in that net till he's ready to go back. You know, make sure that they're right to go back before they go. You can see there, he's not yet holding himself right, he's moving a lot, but wait till they're holding themselves free of the net. I say it won't be too long, but just make sure they're right before they go back. They give everything in the fight, they don't half, you know, fight till the last, and you've got to make sure they're right when they go back. So as you can see there, it's been 10 minutes. You can see the difference in him fighting to get out of the net. There he goes. And that's how they should go off, with a strong kick of the tail. Thank you very much, and hopefully the first of maybe one more. You always want one more, don't we? The rods are back out, fingers crossed. And this is becoming a bit of a pain. There's weed coming down the river all the time, and it's hitting the line and moving them out of position. You can see the bait rudder ticking over. It is the first proper bit of water we've had in a week or two, and a lot of the weed that we're bringing up, as you can see on the screen now, is dead weed. You know, it's stuff that's getting dragged off the bottom as it's dying, and this extra flow is just dislodging it, but it's getting your lines and pulling the baits out of position. That rod's been in probably 3 minutes, something like that. Weed has been an absolute nightmare. When I say a nightmare, it's been really bad. It's been, sometimes we've only got 3 or 4 minutes out of each cast. This one here went over near enough straight away. 1 or 2 weed beds out in front of us. It just keeps catching on them. So, but it does feel a better fish. I mean, it's at the moment it's just going from weed bed to weed bed, and it's coming through them. So, but it does feel a better fish. They can be deceiving sometimes, but I say this is just holding in the flow. A lovely bend in this rod. So I've had some fun on this on the River Wye and the River Severn, and hopefully we've got 1 more trip to the River Wye to come at the end of this month. Barbel number 2, £5, 3 ounces, and in mint condition, and what a fight it put up. Well worth the decision to come through. And if we can get rods out there that can stay out there with this weed, hopefully we can get a few more before, you know, dusk arrives. Would be great. But that is a lovely barbel, that. Absolutely pristine condition and in top form. Buzzing. Absolutely buzzing. Let's get it straight back. Using the Corum butt stops, which obviously lock the butt end of the rod in place, and I've just had a delivery of these Dinsmore's angled bank sticks, and what it means is that obviously you can tilt the bank stick back at the top end, so that one there will face up and hold the rod in position. Obviously a nice long bank stick, and what it means is you can tilt that one, so it means that obviously your bite alarm, the line, will actually go through the runner. So when you're fishing in the evening, you can have your night light on, and also you can have the bite alarm on as well. And with the sun just going down on the hill in the distance, a lovely sunset we're going to be treated to in a moment, and what a lovely fish that is. £1, 5 ounces, and there was a couple of taps on the tip, and then it just kind of jangled round. Not much of a fight, I must admit, on £10 line. I'd much prefer it on my Acolyte and £3 line on caster, but I'll take it on the same. A lovely fish. Let's get it straight back. No interrupting that time lapse there. The rod just bounced over, and it was the weirdest, if it's a barbel, it was the weirdest take since I've started fishing for them. It was more of a gentle tap than it was the usual, you know, 3-foot twitch that you get with them. If you just look upstream there at the sun going down, what a view that is. I've got a bend in the rod. I imagine he's going to hit the weed bed on the inside line in a second. I know he's come right underneath my feet really quickly. He said he feels a similar stamp to the other ones, and he said he'll always go again. It was one hell of a run. You can just hear an owl beginning to tweet in the distance. I don't know if you can pick that up on the the GoPro. When they come in close like that, just slacken off on the drag, just ease them in. So they always go on a run, but it did go on that hard run then, so that could be it done. Just hope you don't see that tree down there. So we're just about on the limits of recording, and what a lovely barbel that is. Just over 5.5 pound, holding its fin up proud, and what an account it gives of itself. A lovely sunset in the background. The fish isn't showing up too well, and I do apologise, but we are on last light, and we'll get the cameras on and the lights on in a second if we get one in the dark. But that's a lovely fish, just as we're going into dusk. Let's get it straight back. And there we go, barbel number 4, fishing till about 9 o'clock, and we've got about 10 minutes to go. Similar stamp around the £5 mark, £5–6 mark. We'll call this one the last fish of the day. Tight lines in your own fishing. Thank you very much for watching. It'd be great if you could leave the video a like and subscribe for weekly videos every Friday at 6 o'clock. And until next time, I wish you all tight lines, and I'll catch you all next time.